Hello and welcome to Hank Games Without Hank. My name is John Green, manager of the AFC Wimbledon Wimbly Womblys, and today we're taking on Oxford United, the mighty Bulls, the terrifying Bulls of Oxford. Of course, Oxford, England, famous for its university's rowing team. We are currently in first, and they are currently in fourth, which makes this a controversial moment to do some squad rotation. But I'm trying to make it so that at the end, look at Mr. Manager Reno. I'm trying to make it so that at the end of the season, we're not absolutely exhausted and destroyed. As you can see, we're the best defensive team in League One. We're starting Raffo today in goal. George Long expressed to me that he was not content with his role at the club, so I told him that he could sit his butt on the bench. We've got Raffo. We don't need anybody else. Just kidding. We desperately need George Long. Raffo is still only 14 years old. Today's topic, I'm going to solve a problem from Valerie, who donated to the Project for Awesome. Thank you, Valerie. And this is Valerie's problem. I'm 27 years old, and I'm still working in retail. I still live with my parents. At this stage in my life, I should be on my own with a career. I know I'm not supposed to compare myself to others, but it's hard, and I can't help it. Do you have any advice or suggestions on things I can do not to be so down on myself all the time? Right. I mean, you say in your problem, I should be on my own with a career, and maybe you want to be on your own with a career. I don't know. But I don't know that. I don't know that it's a moment for shoulds, right? Like I think even in the problem itself, you're expressing a measure of, kind of frustration with yourself, or feeling like there's something that you ought to be doing that you're not doing, and and if you don't like working in retail, I think absolutely you want to not be working in retail, or you. But if you don't want to be working in retail because you feel like somehow it reflects poorly on you, or it means that you're a failure, or less of a participant in adult life, or whatever, I don't think that's true at all. And I do think you've got to you have to be kind to yourself. I think otherwise you end up in this trap where being cruel to yourself. This is something that I do. I don't know if you do it, Valerie, but I do. Being cruel to yourself becomes this self-perpetuating thing where there's stuff in your life that you want to change, but part of the reason that you can't change it is because you're so mean to yourself, and you're so negative. In your own, like, I don't want to use a psychologist word, but like in your own self-talk, that you end up kind of perpetuating some of the problems that you want to fix. I've done that my whole life, and I'm sure that, and I know that my life is really successful, and I'm sure it seems even more successful from the outside, but I've often felt like that's held me back, especially when I was younger. I'm sure that you also don't feel young at 27, but to me, of course, you seem extremely young. You're a few years into your professional life, probably 10 at the most into. Oh boy, Oxford United, really good job there from Henry, but you have a lot of your professional life to go. And so if you're not satisfied with the kind of work that you're doing, or you want to move out of the house, you don't want to be living with your parents, then I think like that to me is that's the time and place to set goals and to be oriented around those goals and say, okay, in 2 years, I believe, I'm a big believer in SMART goals. It's the most annoying corporate speak thing, but I've found them incredibly helpful. SMART goals are, Meredith, specific, measurable, attainable, which is basically, and then the other two don't matter. They're really SMA goals. Like, I think one of them is like time limited, but like, the time limited. And the other one I think is a rephrase of attainable. But let's just focus on specific, measurable, and attainable. So for instance, you would say to yourself, as I said to myself after a long period, really good job dribbling the ball out of bounds there. I'd like to apologize to my friends and family and everybody who supported me in my career for that embarrassment. Sorry, that's bad self-talk. So an example of this is that this is basically how I wrote the first draft of Turtles all the way down, and then also how I revised it. I had become kind of convinced that I was never going to write another book, and very frustrated about this. And for a long time, I just let my frustration be frustration about it and be anger about it, and I was mean to myself, and I was like, said a bunch of things to myself that I would, oh my God, Lyle Taylor, that I would never say to anyone else, because they were horribly cruel, but I didn't have a problem saying them to myself. And that did not help me write a book at all. What did eventually help me write a book was my SMA goals, specific, measurable, and attainable. So I would be like, I want to write 10,000 words a month, every month for the next 6 months, and then I will have, almost a novel. And maybe it will suck, and maybe it, maybe I won't have a publishable novel, but I will have a novel, and I will also will have met these goals. And I think if you set out if you set out steps within, frickin' burger, if you set out steps within the goals, and you set out the goals and you make them specific, measurable, and attainable, then that for me is how I get from a place I don't want to be to a place I like being more. So for instance, those goals might revolve around saving a certain amount of money every month for the next year or year and a half, so that you can achieve a goal of, say, moving out within 2 years. Or it might involve applying for a certain number of jobs or attending a certain number of networking events, so that you can find a job in a field that you're more interested in than the field that you're in now. Or you can, and you can measure your success at those goals over time. And if you find that you aren't being successful with them, you can kind of investigate inside of yourself why, and you can make that the way that you're approaching these questions, rather than just feeling like, okay, I don't like myself, or just being mean to yourself. I have not found in my life that being mean to myself is very effective. Now, that has not really stopped me from continuing to try to be mean to myself as a strategy, but I don't find it to be effective. You're a good person, and you're right that you shouldn't compare. Is that, you're not going to call a penalty? Surely you're not going to call a penalty. Raffo can't save penalties. What? You can't. Why would you call a penalty in this situation? Soares, I'm very frustrated. What did you do wrong? Oh my God, how is that a penalty? All he did was stick his head in between the other player's legs. Oh my God, what a terrible call. I'm sorry, Valerie, I've got to focus for a second. All right, Raffo. Raffo, you've never saved a penalty, but there's a first time. Raffo! There's a first time for everything. Oh, the 12-year-old comes through in the biggest possible way for AFC Wimbledon, and hope that thing with feathers springs eternal. Come on, boys. You can do this. Let's get a goal right. Go! Anything but that. Trying to pass to Cody McDonald, who has had, for here in League One, what I would term a very poor season, and I think might, not in real life. I'm talking only about my FIFA save. And I think might be on his way out the door. We need a better strike partnership than, like, a backup strike partnership than the one we have now, because the one we have now is not really, well, it sucks. We don't score any goals, and really we never even have the ball. I mean, this game we haven't really even had the ball much looking threatening. Now, I know that lots of people say that that's because I suck at FIFA, and you know what? You're not wrong, but still, I'd rather score goals. Get there, Cody McDonald! Oh, after everything I said about you, you just went and proved me right. That's frustrating. That's actually going to be your last action of the day, I think. So that would be my recommendation. Don't focus on comparing yourself to other people. Focus on, insofar as possible, on the person you want to be and the life you want to have, and let that be the guiding principle, rather than all the people that you aren't, because it's okay. Your life is yours, and it's precious and rare and kind of astonishing that you have the ability to, to be conscious of the world around you and of the beauty around you. And when you can think about that, all the sort of like worldly, and again, I know I come at this from an incredibly privileged position, but all the worldly stuff that seems so important becomes much less important. The other thing is that you can't measure yourself only in terms of how the social order measures success. Like, the social order is not good at measuring success, right? Because a big part of success is what are your core relationships like? Are those relationships valuable to you? Do you bring joy to the people you love? Do you help care for people who are close to you and important to you? And you can do that. And also in your job, even if it's retail work is incredibly difficult in large part because of the customers, but also because of poor pay and lots of other factors. Okay, this has got to be it. It's John Green. It's everything that we could have wanted. It's John Green one-on-one with a goalkeeper, and he can't close it off. But I've talked about this a lot of times before, but I really believe it. Retail work can also be just tremendously helpful to your customers and to the people, you're working with. I can't believe we had a ball go off the crossbar, and then we had John Green fail to score, and it does seem increasingly like we are doomed never to score another goal. However, we have a corner kick. So I would also measure your success in your life in those ways, in ways that maybe the social order doesn't value because they don't understand it well, and because the social order mostly exists to make markets more efficient. But that's not really a reflection of how much you are or aren't doing to improve the lives of the people around you, and to be happy and fulfilled in your own life on a daily basis. So think about that instead of what other people value. It's so and that that's so easy to say and so incredibly hard to do, right? Like, it's so hard to know the difference between trying to achieve Raffo, you saved a penalty. God, it's devastating. It was a devastating, brilliant, beautiful counterattack with a pass and then a shot to the goal. Actually, Raffo couldn't have done anything. So I want to congratulate Jack Payne, who looks young and has a terrible haircut, on a goal, and we're losing, and Oxford United are going above us in the table, and I'm frustrated. But this is all because of poor self-talk, Valerie. If I'd given myself good self-talk, I would be like, you know what, we're about to go 1-0 down to 2-1 up. But I just don't believe it. If I'm being honest, I think that I'm bad at FIFA. Get it into Lyle Taylor. Dang it. God, it's frustrating. So, yeah, so I think it's really easy to say and hard to do. It's hard to know the difference between what the social order tells you to want and what you actually want, because inevitably those things are going to have interactions, right? Inevitably there's going to be spaces where there's overlap, and it's hard to know what's what. And I don't have a good solution for that. I do have a potential goal here. Oh, for the love of God. I mean, Vinny Thrill, how much better, what could I have done to put you in a better position to score? Valerie, do as I say, not as I do. So yeah, that's my advice. Small goals and live your life, not other people's. You're great. We are terrible. God, I got to work on it. I'm going to go back and have some talks with the boys. We're not going to humiliate ourselves the next time we're out on the pitch. I shouldn't get so negative. We just lost one game. All right. I've still got John Green. Everything's going to be fine. All right. Best wishes.